because someone has to be in charge of selective outrage in this country. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
Okay, Mr. Neeson, whenever you're ready.
I see you when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake.
Okay, that's good. Let's try it again, maybe a little more jolly. Pick Santa.
I watch you when you're sleeping. Oh, yeah. I know when you're awake. I'm making a list and checking it twice. I'm going to find out who's naughty or nice.
Okay, I think maybe that's a little too intimidating.
Yeah, but if you don't mind me saying, I think it's right. You know, do you understand what Santa's saying here? He's making a list. Naughty, nice. He's detailed. He's single-minded. He's an eye in the sky bringing swift judgment.
Okay, but he's also bringing toys to children.
Not the naughty ones.
It continues to make me laugh all the time. I love that clip. Liam Neeson. And I don't know if that was an old Saturday Night Live clip. I think it was. Anyway, just so funny. And welcome. In fact, you've hit the midpoint of December, so congratulations to you and out there. And boy, did this month go fast. In fact, whenever Thanksgiving is later, that week later, it just messes me up entirely on Christmas and Thanksgiving and all the holidays. It just seems like it just rushes by. But I welcome you to today's show, and Dr. Pesta will be back in a few weeks, and I've got the wonderful Rebecca Terrell, and she actually comes to us via the senior editor position at the New American Magazine, and I'm really grateful for her. I had her on the show, oh gosh, was it a year ago, Rebecca?
It had to have been. It's been so long, but
Yeah,
I'm so glad to be back.
I know. I'm so glad to have you. Actually, we have so many things to talk about. The headlines are insane. There's so much going on. Yes. And of course, from Rob Reiner to and his wife to the FBI, I have to say, FOILS plot. I just thought the details on that were really interesting. And then also we have the Australian event that happened, and oh my gosh, there's so much here. So welcome to the show. And this week, I'll be doing 4 shows this week, all the way through Thursday. And so glad to be here with you. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble or X or whatever, make sure and look at the ticker and go to katedalyradio.com and take part in the sponsors that have these amazing products like remineralizing your teeth, Cardio Miracle, All Family Pharmacy that's doing their deals right now, getting a travel little med kit together. You know how I feel about pharma. Go natural if you can, always. But always have these things in trade and in your go bag too. It's not a bad idea. So just make sure that you support the sponsors, who in turn support me being on the air. Because if they went away, I would not be able to do this. So I really appreciate all of your help with that. And there's no more crucial time than now. So please help. And you can go right to katedalyradio.com and hit the links. Also get the cancer ebook. That's the 14 pages of gold, the 14 pages that tell you how to deal with cancer naturally. And after 38,000 hours of research now, I can tell you that there are certain things that you should do and certain things that probably don't work. Make sure after all my interviews with holistic doctors, make sure and go there to get those answers. That ebook is at katetalks.myshopify.com, and grab that ebook because you're going to want that on your computer. I've been censored so much on that. You cannot understand how much. So I really appreciate you guys. All right. So Rebecca, where should we start? What headline do you want to start with?
Actually, I want to continue talking about what you're talking about right now, because I have a very interesting story in my own family. Sure. My mother died of cancer, of a very, very horrible cancer called multiple myeloma, and her younger brother, my uncle, has been diagnosed with that now, and he is following those natural remedies, and his experience is vastly different than hers. She went the allopathic model. She went to chemo, and she was scared, and we didn't know. That was 15 years ago that she passed away, and cancer runs in her family. It was just kind of a given. know that that's going to be passed down.
Yeah.
And what we've been discovering is with all of these, what they call horse dewormers or dog dewormers, like ivermectin and fenbendazole and all of these things, that it's not that cancer is actually a parasite, but these drugs have the same interfering capability with cancer cells that they do with parasites or worms or what have you.
And it could be parasites. I mean, there are some doctors that said that.
Right, exactly. Well, and you have so many different kinds of cancers, but just this idea, cancer is quite. Back in the day, you didn't have a lot of cancer patients. It was seen as I know there's a very interesting story about Nathaniel Hawthorne, the man who wrote The Scarlet Letter. He had 3 children, and one of them was his youngest daughter. His name was Rose. She actually converted to Catholicism later in life and became a nun. And she was a nursing sister, and she nursed people with cancer. Back then, it was seen as a leprosy. It was, people were leper colonies, and that's where she went. She nursed those people, and it was very rare. Cancer was a lot more rare. So you have to, first of all, think, what's causing, why are we the wealthiest country in the world? Why do we have all this technology and all these wonderful things, and we are so poor when it comes to our health? An enemy hath done this. There's something behind this. And I know that sounds, now we're going to get into conspiracy theory, but come on.
Well, if the shoe fits, I mean, ever since the war on cancer by Nixon, we're down to 1 in 2 get cancer in their lifetime now.
Exactly.
It didn't happen by accident, I don't think.
It did not happen. And it's not just that we discovered all of these. It's not just that it's a per capita difference, because it's not just that, we've gotten rid of infectious disease by and large, so that those aren't the big killers, and now the chronic diseases have taken their place. No, it's if you look at the numbers. So anyway, I'll give you a very resounding endorsement for the book that you were talking about. People need to, you have to become your own doctor. You really have to become your own doctor. And we've lost so much because people used to know all of the home remedies and the things that they say, that's an old wives' tale now. No, it actually, those things work. You know? And you have to catch it now. You can't be lazy with your health now and then tackle it when the problems come. You have to.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And it's got the 3 top ways. This ebook that I did has the 3 top ways. There's actually a 4th too, but it's really what you should try. And everybody's going to come to you and say, try this product or that product. And I know there's not a lot of time to try everything. And so you want to know what's going to work. And that's the ebook that answers that question. There's no AI in this ebook. So I know there's a lot of people doing ebooks with AI. This has no AI. But go to katetalks.myshopify.com and go grab it. I know that you were probably, the news hit everybody on Facebook because my feed was filled with Rob Reiner. And did you want to speak to the Rob Reiner?
Well, I mean, of course, that's a terrible, horrible situation. I mean, your heart just sinks, especially when you hear that it might have been his son, the murderer, and his son was. Did I hear that his son's transitioning? That
I've been hearing that too. Yeah.
Hormones involved. So, all these rumors go around. But my first, as a writer for the New American Magazine, and as somebody who I consider myself red-pilled, I consider myself as having that extra radar of going, Rob Reiner was extremely high up, one of the highest ups in the DNC, the Democratic Committee. And for, everybody's getting focused on the next election and what are we going to do? How are we going to win? And it's just such odd timing for somebody in his position politically for this to happen to. His wife was very politically active too. So, but my heart goes out to the family. I'm not going to make wild speculations about that. It's just odd timing.
It's just strange. He's got an interesting background. And one of the things that I really can't stand. I was talking to Rebecca about this before the show. Is the hero worship when somebody passes away. Now, this was a violent death, and no one. I mean, honestly, we're all human, and no one would ever wish that upon anyone. Mm-hmm. So let me put that aside for a second. But we go into hero worship. When I did an expose, and here I'm a conservative talk show host, right? And I do an expose on Papa Bush, okay, George Bush when he died, and there were people calling the show, and they were so angry. How dare you expose him on his deathbed, you know? And I said, you know, because they've died doesn't mean we don't stop telling the truth about them. There still is a truth there to be told. And it was interesting because I saw a post, and the post was from a guy that said, you know, that Rob Reiner, he did some good movies back in the day. His talent seemed to be from a while back. Sure. And then they're calling him the most prolific director now, but his talent was from a while back. His better movies were in the Wayback Machine. Sure. And then he went on these full rants about Trump derangement syndrome and all of this kind of thing. Now, I'm not going to disagree that on the right we have some wingbats, just like we have them on the lefty loony side. So I get that there's people that are very blinded even on both sides of the aisle. But the problem is that he would go off on these rants, and his ideology politically was just crap. And so now I see all these conservatives shoring up as a hero worship. And I'm like, a week ago you were ranting about this guy. So that's the only part that kind of bothers me is when it goes into hero worship, because I'm thinking this guy, I don't know if he was the best guy. I mean, this guy was an interesting person as far as having this horrid ideology, going after conservatives like he did, and very smugly. He was an atheist. He was an interesting guy, and people don't want to address the truth. Now, I do understand that when people die, they usually get the highlight reel. Okay, all right, I understand that to a certain point, but let's not forget how, you know, that this is a guy that went after conservatives, consistently got it wrong. His own son is the accused person in this murder, or will likely be, and it was interesting to see the news already convict the son. That was kind of interesting. Usually they always go with alleged. Yes. They're in the news going, no, this happened. Right. And so the son was pretty messed up and on drugs and homeless. And was he trans? I don't know. Was he taking any drugs? I don't know. But no one wants to even have that conversation, even on the right. So it is kind of interesting to watch. But
another lesson we need to learn from this is that, you know, okay, he's this great director and he produces these wonderful movies, and you know, and so our kids, okay, so we're handing our kids over to this person who entertains them. So he's a great guy, and then he starts telling them about his political beliefs. And so think about the influence that he has on the younger generations, because what a great guy. He produced the Princess Bride. Who couldn't like him?
Right. Harry Met Sally, all these.
And which was an extremely immoral movie, and everybody's like, oh, wasn't that a great movie? No, it was terribly immoral. And you're handing your children over to this type of person. There are other ways to pursue entertainment that aren't going to lead them down this path. I mean, it is. And I'm using him as an example only because he is in the news right now because of this thing that happened. But we are financing the Hollywood that is stealing our children away from us, just like we're financing the academia that's stealing our children away from us. And it has to stop. And it's going to take personal sacrifice on our parts, but aren't our children worth it?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. And we worship the people that spew out the most immoral stuff around us. And that drives me crazy. And I know it drives you crazy. It just drives me nuts. So I'm you know, it's okay to say, you know, rest in peace, right? Goodbye. But the hero worship is what gets me. So we need to be more careful about how we do that and why we do it.
Yeah, there's an irony too, because, you know, his father, Carl Reiner, worked with Dick Van Dyke on his show. Yes. And now we're about to celebrate Dick Van Dyke's 100th birthday, and he has outlived Carl Reiner's son, which is just, you know, it just kind of brings our immortality back to us too. So some food for meditation there. Just
I'm with you on that. I am with you. Nobody wants to meet that kind of fate, but my gosh, I think we go way overboard the other way. And I think it's always good to tell the truth about these people. And I'm grateful there's a forum still, even though it's small, in America, that I can still do that. So yeah, we just need to tell the truth, and I appreciate that. Thank you for addressing that, because it's hard right now. Everyone's just idolizing him, and he did put out some pretty rank stuff. So anyway, and you know that the politics coming out of Hollywood has gotten so fierce in the last 15 years and so bad.
Yes.
You know, all cut out of the same cloth, all with the same talking points. There is no accident there whatsoever in my mind. So
It is no accident, and we know exactly how it has happened. It has been a plot, and it's not us saying it. They've written it down in their own words. A lot of what we're seeing today is actually the result of the Fabian Society, which was founded in 1884. And they wrote down, this is what we're going to do. They actually had a logo at the time that was a wolf in sheep's clothing, because they took their cues from Karl Marx and the Communist Manifesto, but they said, we don't want to do all that nasty, violent revolt. We want to do it by stealth. So they used a wolf in sheep's clothing as their logo. You can find it online if you want to see the pictures. And they don't use it anymore now. I think it's a turtle, because it is the slow, steady march towards socialism, morphing the United States. And that's what they did. They took over. That's how they took over England, and their agents came and took over America the same way. They embedded their people into crucial places within our government. They didn't have to do a massive takeover. It's kind of like with election fraud. You didn't have to, you didn't have to steal the election from sea to shining sea. You had to steal it in a few crucial places, and then
and you do it with the software, and it's been completely and tightly controlled since 2004, since they did the hanging chat, and the response and answer to that was to install this software that could be controlled by the Office of the Internet. And so it's kind of interesting. They keep trying to squash that story. It's why I bring it up every time we talk about election fraud, because since 2004, it's tightly controlled. Right. So yeah, unless we get that back, we really don't have a chance unless we get that back.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, we don't, it was the Democrats who were hollering about election fraud until 2020. And then the Republicans started hollering about it. And, that's frustrating too, because we're all believing that it's the Republicans versus the Democrats, under every single, no matter who you have in power, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, what happens to the federal government? Yep. It grows and grows and grows till right now what we have is the Fabian reality.
Yes.
Society. And we also have the technocratic reality. I'm sure you've seen Patrick Woods, and
had him on the show many times.
Wonderful research. And he has all the receipts, and you can see, they planned it. But that's why we were talking about this before we went on air. That's why they're succeeding. Mm-hmm. They plan things. We sit here in defensive mode and talk about them and complain about them and, put out this fire here and put out this fire here. They are thinking in systems processing. I'll give you an example of one of the things I'm working right now on, to put a report together about Agenda 2030, which, you start talking about Agenda 2030 and conservatives' eyes kind of glaze over. They know, it's bad, but why is it bad? It's the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Do you know each one of those Sustainable Development Goals has umpteen cajillion targets, and then each target has umpteen cajillion metrics by which they're measuring how quickly they're getting to that target, what kind of success are we having. Right. So they go to these spa places on their jetliners, and spewing their carbon dioxide, which, by the way, I love carbon dioxide.
Me too. Me too.
I mean, they're so hypocritical, and they go to these spa places and they plan out these big extravagant things, and they're winning because they do that, and they're using your tax dollars and mine to do it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we've got to get a counter to that and start planning ourselves and not constantly be on the defense because we're losing.
I'm with you. I had Freeman Dyson on the show a couple of times actually, and it was really interesting because he was a leftist and he was on the climate change thing. And he was part of the Jason scientists from World War II on, and very, very old. And I had him on the show. And it was hard to get an interview with him because he started turning against Obama. He started saying, this is all a crock of crap. And so they started to say that he was senile. And I had him on the show to prove that he wasn't, because he wasn't. And he was a Princeton guy, I think. Anyways, from England, and he just said the whole thing was rubbish. And so when you said CO2, it just reminded me of Freeman Dyson. He passed away in 2020, and boy, he was 96 years old. But let me just say that he had a lot of interesting things. If you ever want to go catch Freeman Dyson clips, go do it. I had him on the show twice. You can actually Google it on the Kate Daly Show. But man alive, somebody at the top of the climate heap, man-made climate heap, trying to tell the truth about CO2, and he did on my show, and it was amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, you like to hear that truth, especially from somebody who has the experience, who has all those years under his belt. That's one thing we don't respect our elders these days. Everything's focused on.
And they tried to turn him into somebody that wasn't coherent, and I thought that was just mean, because he was actually pretty astute at his old age.
That means he was over the target, and that's you too. I mean, that's why you've been censored. If you're getting censored, that means you're over. Well, you're over many targets, but yeah. It's a compliment, even though, wow, it makes it a lot harder, that hill to climb.
It's so true, that and election fraud. So yeah, it's been a trip for sure, because I won't stop talking about election fraud. We need to get our system back, and we don't have it. We're under the illusion that if you just vote, any monkey can vote, anybody can vote. But they're saying that if you do that, everything's fine. You don't have to pay attention in between voting. Even you can just show up to vote. There's your American duty done. So I'm so frustrated by that. And the American people had better wake up to the system being gone, and all the way down to local elections. So we're in a spot of trouble for sure.
We are, but hey, God's still in his heaven. So.
Right? There's miracles. There's miracles. I believe in miracles. I really do. I believe that that God is here and He can help, and we just have to make sure that we are a people that is constantly turning to Him for help, and have that level of faith for sure. I know that you just did something on chemtrails. Before I get to the FBI foiled plot, because that's brand new, and there was some interesting things about that, but chemtrails, because I know everyone's noticing them. They're constantly in my skies. So did you want to talk about that, Rebecca?
Well, I did, because, I've been one of those that I know people would think, being associated with the John Birch Society, I'm always going to jump on any conspiracy theory that there is. But actually, you don't. When you're in the John Birch Society, you're taught read, study, research. Right. Everything. You don't believe anything that just comes down the pike. And so, you hear all this and it sounds like black helicopter, crazy, whatever. Right. And then you start looking. It was that Kristen Megan who first made me go, oh, maybe there's something behind this. Because she was a whistleblower in the, I believe, Air Force, and she set out to disprove chemtrails, and in her research realized, it's coming out of my office. And then Tucker Carlson recently had Dane Wigington on his show and gave it some legitimacy there. So I thought I need to go ahead and look into this. And it's absolutely crazy. They've been doing it for years and years and years. They did it during the Vietnam War. It was called Popeye. In 1972, we have in our federal statutes a law called the Weather Modification Reporting Act, where anybody involved in weather modification has to report to the Environmental Protection Agency and NOAA. So, of course, again, during Nixon's administration, you just kind of, oh my word, what a horrible president he was. And we can get into that too, if you want to. But, all of this stuff has been going on, and I'll see people writing on there's no such thing as chemtrails. It's just a bunch of hooey. Now they have geoengineering, and, you have all the receipts of, yes, this is actually happening. And we have it happening across Europe, and the president of Iran complaining about it several years ago. They're stealing our rain,
and weather warfare for nations, the
right.
treaties.
Exactly. But it is, and NOAA you can go on NOAA's website right now. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is what I'm talking about when I say NOAA. And they say, cloud seeding is the main weather modification practice that's happening in the United States right now. And so they just talk about cloud seeding. It's not the only one. If it's the main one, it's not the only one. What are they doing? And all of the, my home state, Tennessee, they passed a law in the legislature a couple of years ago that can't happen in our airspace. And I think Texas and Florida and several other states have passed similar legislation. Of course, I look up in the sky and I see it all the time. How are they going to, regulate that? But what they have uncovered in their research to write those bills is in our own federal documents, talking about all of the very dangerous chemicals that are being sprayed over us. Regardless of what it is, if it comes down and it's affecting our crops and it's affecting our waterways,
and us, and
our animals and us. And so it's something that, I'm going to continue looking into, but I know Dane Wigington has that. And he's on the left. He's a leftist.
I know.
It's not like a crazy right-wing conspiracy nut, go on his geoengineeringwatch.com. I think it's his website. It's pretty interesting.
He's been on the show. I've had a few that I have a guy that comes on that was didn't love Dane's stuff as much because he said there's even more truth that needs to be told. And then Dane has come on, and I know a lot of people listen to the show love Dane. And so, we've been down that rabbit hole so many times, and I'm thinking, look, I can look in my sky and know that something's wrong. And we used to have a lot more clear skies all the time. We don't have that anymore. Go look. Just go out.
I grew up in Mississippi in the country, out on a farm, and the skies did not used to look like that. I was outside all the time with the animals, and this is something different.
Yeah. This is something different. And I wish people would just go outside and look. That's all you got to do. I mean, this is not hard to figure out. It's just right in front of our face. Sometimes I think the most obvious stuff, some of the hardest, because people they just don't want to know. They don't want to see it. I was reading an article over the weekend, and it was, hey, if you live within a mile of golf courses, just know you're being glyphosated to death. And I thought, yeah, and the rest of the food supply too, not just golf courses, but that's what the article was centered on. And I think people just can't wake up to the fact that we're using these horrible chemicals. It's kind of like polio. The polio symptoms were, I 100% think a poisoning of what they were laying down on the crops at the time. And so it's just hard to kind of see what's in front of our face. We don't say, well, what caused spikes? What has caused cancer? Like going back to your original, what has caused cancer? Why are we in this state of being so unhealthy? We don't ask those questions because we've lost the art of curiosity.
Right. And the main thing that they won't let you look into that is likely has some role in all of these spikes of, cancer and all of this other stuff, the childhood immunization schedule.
Yep.
You cannot touch that. You can't take it with a 10-foot pole. I have a friend who owns she's a private business owner, and they just recently had their Christmas party. It was a small business, very small business. So then people brought their families. Two of the about, a dozen or so children who are running around are autistic. What are the odds of that happening? I never knew anyone who was autistic when I was growing up. I had a wide circle of friends.
Go look at our population above the age of 50 right now. How many autistic people are there?
There you go. That's another great point on the other side of that same coin. And you can't touch the childhood. It's safe and effective, safe and effective. The first thing I actually went to in another life, I went to nursing school. I have a nursing license, but I'm inactive because I haven't practiced in so long. But one of the first things they taught us in nursing school, every drug has side effects. Every drug has, it has the potential to do harm. but not vaccines. How did that happen?
Yeah. I mean, my gosh, we should be the healthiest people on the planet with all those jabs, but we're not. We're more sick than ever. So I can't imagine that there was only a few things that really changed and that we can't look at the entire program and say, hey,
Right.
with the one thing that changed, and then 10 years later, they did the war on cancer. Something's wrong with that. 15 years later, the war on cancer. So every time they do a war, it increases, the harm increases, whatever they're talking about actually increases. There is no war. It's just the ramping up. I almost think it's a signal to the deep state. Yeah, everyone's on board. Let's go. Because every time we hear war, it gets worse. So
Right. Yeah, war on drugs, war on all of those things. And now, speaking of war, who wants to bet that there's a hot war around the corner too, with everything that's going on with, Trump renaming Department of Defense. Oh, you can call it Department of War now,
yeah, there's some weird things going on there.
And have you noticed that if you watch the critical minerals and rare earths and all of that, our military is starting to set up refineries here in the United States to be able, because we don't have enough critical minerals and rare earths
right
to supply our own munitions needs should something like that arise. The fact that they're doing it and going full out, and they're striking all these deals with foreign countries, because China has a corner on all of this right now.
Yeah.
So, that gives you warm fuzzies.
There was just an article, and I'm in Utah, so there was an article just about that. The governor is he's an awful governor. We have a terrible, terrible junior Gavin Newsom from California. He's terrible. Loves the deep state and will do anything they ask. So he's a leftist, but he parades around as a conservative. And he just did we're finding minerals in all these different places, and so they're gonna occupy that land. But we do have a caller for you. The call-in line is you can call live 435, and the number is 680-2503. Here we go. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, Kate, first, thank you for bringing Rebecca on the show. And I have a question for her, but I want to just comment on a couple of subjects you mentioned.
Sure.
First of all, it's been scientifically proven 1,000 times beyond a reasonable doubt. The vast majority, if not all, the autism is caused by the vaccines.
Yep.
Many studies have proven this. But anyway, the other point, Rebecca, on chemtrails, be open to that you're being lied to. That the evidence is that weather modification is a cover story for what they're really doing. We don't know exactly what we're doing, but there's massive evidence. They spray very heavily in areas where there's no clouds, deserts, and so forth, and it doesn't affect clouds at all. They what was the other point I was going to make? They've been lying to us for years about it, telling us there's nothing to it. The FAA, just tremendous amount of lying. One other thing, absolutely, they definitely spray more on population areas.
Sure.
Or if it's weather modification, why are you spraying population areas? But here's my question. Kate's been getting some heat over Elon Musk. Elon Musk, there's absolutely certainty he works for the conspiracy. He's a traitor to America.
Right.
He's a puppet.
Communistic. Yeah. And I heard one of your webinars. It was excellent. All your webinars are excellent.
Thank you.
You mentioned him in passing, and you talked about his funding as well, from welfare from government, but also you talked about the technology to kill the engines on cars that go beyond the what is Trump calling them freedom cities or smart cities. Can you talk more about that and give us the details of what you know?
Sure.
Thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for that. Those were very good insights, especially about chemtrails, because truly, I do have to admit, I haven't looked into it that much, but I'm always I always approach things.
All the information that's coming out.
Right. Well, I do always approach things with, am I being lied to? By the good guys and the bad guys. So that was a very good wake-up call for everybody for him to say that. So I really appreciate him saying that. Now, about Elon Musk, of course, Elon Musk we wouldn't know his name if it weren't for government subsidies, which have financed everything that he's done. So it's thanks to you that Elon Musk, thanks to your tax dollars, that Elon Musk is where he is. But look at what he's doing. Like, for instance, I know one of the things is with robo-taxis, his whole incentive there to get these driverless cars, driverless taxis, and they're putting up fencing, it's you can't see it. It's
Right.
invisible
Geofencing.
fencing. Thank you.
Yep.
I was gonna say eco-fencing, but it was geofencing.
Mhm.
And, that is the setup for central bank digital currency. And you're like, wait a minute, what are you jumping from
Yep.
driverless cars to central bank digital currency? Well, right now we see, this run on silver that we've had recently,
Mhm.
tariffs. Okay. And you heard about the Chicago
Right.
Metal Exchange shut down all of a sudden when,
Yes.
silver had topped $54 an ounce, and all of a sudden, oh, we have a failure at our, at our AI center up there. Oh, oops.
Amazing.
And so, all of this, all of everything is tending toward, and the rise of BRICS, and they're trying to set up a currency to vie for the dollar, which will
Mhm.
be hard to do since we're in such debt in our country. I know
Yeah.
I'm going down all sorts of little rabbit trails right here, but I'll make a point.
No, I like it. Go ahead.
So they're setting us up for our currency, which is completely controlled and has been since 1913, thanks to the Federal Reserve. It's paper. It's based on the word of the government, right? They
Yes.
can do whatever they want to. We can have they can make 1929 look like, kid stuff, and bring our currency down and impose on us a central bank digital currency, which will be programmable. And they'll already have all of this geofencing set up, where it's right now, it's to keep those robo taxis within that invisible fence. But pretty soon it will be to keep your money in a certain geographic area. You won't be able to spend it outside of that area. Now, this is not, again, it's not conspiracy theory. They talk about this. They're planning this at the World Economic Forum, and since Carstens, who's the central bank, the general manager of the Bank of International Settlements, he talks about this. So this is out of their own mouths, and all of the, like our caller just said, Elon Musk is just, he's a puppet, and he's doing his bidding. He knows.
And Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and Sam Altman, they're all puppets.
Right, exactly. Palantir and Peter Thiel, and what a monster, and all of the child trafficking that goes with all of these people. That right there, it's just it's almost unspeakable, the things that are happening in that arena with child trafficking, with all of these people that you just mentioned, all those names, and. There's an element of Greek drama. The ancient Greeks, they were masters of drama, and they had in their theaters, they had a platform that would come down at the end of a play when everybody's just all mixed up and all messed up, and there's no way to resolve all of this. And God would actually come down from heaven and straighten stuff out.
Like a flood. I'm kind of begging for one at this point.
Exactly. And that platform was called the Deus Ex Machina. That's the machine that brings God down, right?
Yeah.
Like right now, we need a Deus Ex Machina because we are so messed up. Every single one, all those sin throughout the Bible, those sins crying to heaven for vengeance, willful murder, the murder of Abel. We have that in abortion. It's enshrined all over our country. We didn't turn abortion around just by overturning Roe v. Wade. It's now more prolific than ever through chemical abortions.
I know.
And those chemicals are getting in our water supply.
It's so gross. The murdering that has gone, the murder that's happened. And the thing is that the big lie is that the states could have fought that, because it was not, it was built on a state case in Texas, and the states could have fought, the states could have done so much, and they all pretended that they couldn't. And no one was willing to. And so what did they do? On our side, on the conservative side, they just would get in the paper year after year after year and say, well, I'll do the right thing once it's reversed, and once the Supreme Court reverses it, and never informing the people that they could have been doing something about it for a long time, and they just were not willing to do it. And so you had a lot of campaign promises on abortion, and they were never going to be meant to come into, to the main stage once these people were selected, because they didn't want it to go away. And I think at the heart of that speaks to the lie that we're told about both parties, for sure. We do have a caller for you. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, greetings, Kate.
Hi.
What part of the state is your guest from? East, Central, or West?
He sounds like he's from Tennessee too.
Yeah.
I'm in Memphis. The Elvis is. I'm in Graceland.
I love it. Yeah. Do you have a question?
Okay. I do.
Okay.
We're neighbors, and we need to hook up. But literally today, it was on the news that your Senator Marsha Blackburn said that, quote, what's going on in Memphis right now with the standing army is the model for the rest of the country. So they're implementing a standing army with a couple of thousand, not just National Guard, but the 20 some odd federal agents doing these raids and just filling up the jail, overcharging people that don't have $5,000 to go drop in a bondsman's hand for nonsense things that they get pulled over for a tag being out of date, and they charge them with assaulting an officer because they ask a question, and they didn't assault the officer, but then they get to argue that before a judge, but they got to pay the bond to get out of jail, or they sit there for months.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
It's a racket. And also today on that so-called conservative Christian host in the morning show that's a fraud, he had Steve Gill on, and Steve Gill communicates with me on occasion, and he mentioned, and I talked to him about this guy down in Australia that turns out the hero was actually a Muslim guy who stopped the shooting, but he said, well, if you had one M&M in a bowl that's poisoned, would you just take a handful? In other words, he's saying he's taking the position that we need to get rid of all Muslims because they're all radical. So you take that same concept, and that's what the liberals apply to gun control. They want to eliminate all guns. They're going to start applying that same philosophy as a so-called conservative Christian to eliminate every right that we have.
Okay. I'll have Rebecca Terrell actually comment on that. Thanks for the call. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Absolutely. Well, I can say that I do see the effects of the National Guard here in Memphis. And you know what? One thing that I think that the country doesn't realize, there are 9 counties in this country that are most crucial to our food distribution network. And mine is one of them, Shelby County. So when you see things happening in Memphis and in the Shelby County area, pay attention to that, because I do think that they have, well, we saw what happened when they struck us with COVID, which obviously, I mean, that was a psyop. That was planned.
Psyop.
Who doesn't believe that now? You know, I think that's pretty, we don't have to prove that anymore.
Yeah.
But we saw what happened to all of our infrastructure. Think about how quickly they could take down our food network.
Pretty fast.
And I wonder if this has anything to do with setting, I don't know. It just always, it makes me nervous when they do things like this, because like you said, this is a predecessor to a standing army in the United States of America. For years, Memphis has been the Soros dream. They have effectively defunded the police. Much of the police force here in Memphis belong to gangs. This is a gang city. They protect each other. You know, the different gang members protect each other, and it's just, Memphis is more than 200 years old, and there are beautiful things about Memphis. There truly are. We have a great history here, but it's being taken down by the Soros vision, and it's a shame to see.
Yes. And we were talking before the show, there's the sad part about where we're at in America, and people can always look to government to save them, which they won't, and always to vilify. But let me just say this, of course, government only knows one direction, but it's the people that are doing the bidding and for favors, for political favors. I've seen it in my own community. Right. That is what is doing us in. So when you have people that own media companies who are in line with commissioners and mayors who do the bidding because they're getting some sort of favor, some sort of inside track favor or just general favor, then you have a lot of minions doing the work. So the government doesn't have to be as big as we understand the government to even be in order to do what they're doing, because they are so tied in to people. if people had more courage and we were a more moral people, then we would not consent to doing the bidding. We would stand up to these tyrants and we would say no, and there's the door, and I own a media company, or I do this or I do that, and you're not allowed in the door. I'm not going to allow your favors in the door. And so, but we're not that moral, and that's our problem. That's our biggest problem, I think. Government is government. They've only known one track, and the founders warned us about it. But I think it's just the people being so stupid and so blindsided, and so into power that they're willing to do whatever it takes to do the aiding and abetting of whatever the politician does. And in that relationship, they protect that politician from bad press, or they protect that politician at all costs. And this is why in newspapers all across the country that are all run by leftist editors now, most of them, I think the New American Magazine is one of the only ones that's not. And it's amazing to me to see how they protect, and will only go with the AP narrative every single time. And everyone's supposed to applaud that. I don't understand why we applaud that as a people.
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. Amorality is different from immorality. Immorality, at least you know what you're doing is wrong, but you're going to do it anyway. Amorality is you've lost your moral compass altogether. Yeah. And that's what we've done. And we've turned it over for what? For mammon, for the economy, for money. And that's supposed to be, we're here on earth to practice virtue and to always grow closer, on our journey to God. And so virtue is the goal. God is the goal. Yeah. And the economy is supposed to be a tool that we use to achieve that goal. And our whole mindset is so inverted. What's supposed to be on the bottom is up on the top, and it's not the economy, stupid.
Amen. Oh my gosh. I hear all these lefty loonies going after capitalism like insane amounts. And I'm thinking, you don't understand. You don't get it. It's relationships that have been formed, favors that have been formed. It's like, so it's such an element. It's such a weird thing, because that's what actually, gave us our wealth and gave us our ability to jump class. We couldn't do that before. If you were poor, you remained poor. But here you could invent who you were via capitalism. And it's just amazing to me how they can demonize that while on their iPhone, while doing the very things that capitalism did provide. But let's just say that AT&T is pretty much owned by the deep state. So, oh gosh, yeah. So there's a lot of complicating things going on there. Yes.
Absolutely, there are. But, like I said, God is in his heaven, and we serve him, and we're
never without hope. And that's the thing, here we are at Christmas time almost. And that is the one thing that I really want to make sure people understand, as bleak as I can make things sound, and know that they can be. I always reserve room for this miracle called Christ. So I'm very much understanding that throughout history, we've seen miracles happen. We've seen things happen. And so we have evidence of it, and in our favor. And I just think that you have to kind of give it a really healthy reality. And on the other side, you have to understand that things are always open for miracles, and keep that hope alive. I mean, it's important.
Amen.
Yes.
This is the time of year for that exact kind of thing to happen.
I know. Oh, it's so true. Did you want to speak to the FBI foiled plot?
Well, I wanted you go with that, because you had some very interesting comments before we went on air.
Well, okay. Here's a group called the Turtle Island Liberation Front, and they're saying 4 members from this group. I'm pretty sure they probably only have 4 members. But I was looking even at the MSN description of this, and so in some news reports they're calling it the pro-Palestinian group, which makes it seem as if they're from Palestine as well too. Right. And so it's just this forever nod to that. Okay. Sure. But it's amazing to me, because this is what it said. These 4 suspects, okay, Audrey Carroll and Zachary Page and Dante Gatfield and Tina Lay or whatever her name is. They're all from LA. Okay. And that they had this perfectly they had pictures of these perfectly organized tables with these graphics of things that people had written that were very clear and very easy to understand. Lots of evidence, okay, so that the FBI could go, see this table of evidence? Do you see these posters with these things written? Therefore, this is what they were going to do. And that they were going to do this within Orange County, which is where I'm from, Orange County, California, and Los Angeles. And the plan included planning backpacks filled with explosive devices at multiple businesses that were set to blow up at midnight on New Year's Eve. And that the FBI has been very busy foiling this for us. And then also how they found them. And the reason that they found this was because of an encrypted message app. See, everybody gets on these message apps and they think that, well, this message app is safe.
Right.
They're telling us in the articles that the NSA spying is so alive and so there that that they're able to get into these apps that people think are private, right? And I want people to because in some of the stories this year, we pointed out how the FBI loves to slip in these little like, see, we have complete and total NSA spying on you, but we got the bad guy. We got the bad guy. So you should just thank us and not even focus on that little detail. And they always are telling us, some of their capabilities that they have that's far beyond what we think. But they sort of come clean in little hints along the way in these mainstream articles, right? Mm-hmm. But I honestly think that there's just a lot of problems with this story. I immediately was looking at all of the different news organizations report on this, and there's just something trying to turn the FBI into these heroes.
Right.
I don't know.
Fake. There's something set up.
Yeah, very set up to me, and they got it just in the nick of time. And
it's like when they talk about all this stuff, like I mean, the National Guard and ICE being around, and the Customs and Border Patrol, and they're bragging about all their system of cameras throughout the United States of America.
Yes. Oh, wait, and of course
on the border.
Yeah. And the signs say, of course, because, you would throw that on a poster in perfectly colored in letters so that no one had to guess. You would say death to America as an American, and you would say death to ICE. And I thought that was pretty obviously really lame. And they showed these posters. You can go search the photos. They show these posters in perfect condition. So you're a bad guy and you want to do this. And what do? You get on an app because it's safe and secure, right? Right. Okay. And then at the same time, you make very vivid posters on white poster board about your mission. Mm-hmm. And then you discuss it at length about exactly how you're going to carry it out. Right. Because these 4 people that all live in LA can't seem to meet without phones, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so they have to discuss it over the encryption, over the text that they're supposed to be secure, and that everything it's just handed. It's just here. I mean, my gosh, you can't get more perfect evidence than what they have in this case. But every single outlet in America today is telling you that the FBI just saved the day again. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's exactly what you, good Mr. Conservative, are supposed to think.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Okay. I believe that.
Death to ICE. Really? If they were going to do bombs, why the need for the posters?
Oh, well.
If you're going to do secret bombs, I'm just guessing. Why the need for the posters again?
Honestly, I've been writing for the New American magazine for, I think, 16 years, and I've been on staff with the New American for 4 years. And just this past 4 years, just focusing on all of this stuff, I tell my friends, everything, they bring something up to me and I'm like, it's a psyop. They're like, but I didn't tell you about it. No, I don't care. It's a psyop. Everything is if you're hearing about it, if you know their names, if you know what it's a psyop. I'm not saying, like, for instance, at Brown University, horrible. There's a shooting. Okay. I don't care. It's a psyop. They're going to use, and we know too that, who was it? Rahm Emanuel, who said, never let a crisis go to waste, Yes. They're going to strengthen the gun laws. They're going to take away our rights. They're going to everything is a psyop.
Yes, 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 yes. And this way, yeah, I love all your points. And then, of course, it went on to say the LAPD does not stop people or take action for any reason related to immigration status. So, of course, it doesn't enforce immigration laws. So they're turning it into that story. This is also the second story that they're trying to push out on us is and I quote from McDonald's said, the successful disruption of this plot is a powerful testament to the strength of our unified response. They will forever be trying to turn all the little cities in America, which they have done successfully to a certain degree by offering them lots of toys, military toys. But look at our response. See, this should be a California case, right? It was started in LA, and it's for LA and Orange County. But the feds rush in to foil the plot, trying to tell everyone, see, it's okay that we turned this into a federal case because of our unified response. We have now saved you. So it's another part of the story that they've got to put out there, right?
FBI. What would we do without the FBI?
What would we do? You know, it's amazing to me.
Police force.
Yes, yes. So yes, and I'm, and it's funny because it said these plans were discussed both at an in-person meeting with members in Los Angeles and through the messaging app, because I guess, you know, you use a messaging app even when you're in the same city, and it makes total sense. And the plans were discussed at an in-person meeting. I'm sorry, if there's only 4 people, wouldn't you recognize there's a 5th person there reporting on your meeting too? And also, would you not think? I mean, all the details of this story are just. It's amazing. This is amazing that they actually go look at the photos and you'll see exactly how contrived this is.
It's a textbook case of, oh my gosh, do they think we were born yesterday? And unfortunately, I think a lot of people. Yeah.
We'll believe it. They'll believe it. They'll just praise the FBI, the same FBI that told us that the shooter in the Charlie Kirk thing actually changed clothes 4 different times. I'll never forget when my governor, with Kash Patel in the back, stood up and actually said that with a straight face, and you could tell as he was describing how many times he changed clothes and then back to the original clothes, and that he didn't even believe what he was saying.
Right. He's like, who wrote this script?
Oh my gosh. Disturbing. It is
I had friends who were angry at me because I said that about, I mean, I saw the video and I'm like, something's wrong there. That's a psyop.
I know.
That's the word that comes out of my mouth the most these days, because everything.
I was going to ask you about that, actually. What is it like to do what you do? Because there's only certain publications that will even dare to say this anymore. So the New American Magazine is one of them. And so what has this been like for you, just even in the last few years?
Well, there are certain things that I can't even say right out because even our audience, it might be a little bit too
much,
too much for them. But well, about Charlie Kirk, now it's safe. Now it's safe to talk about what a psyop that whole thing. No, I mean, anybody who's ever been used to being around guns knows that a 30-06 doesn't do that. And I mean, there were things like that came out later. You know, details that I didn't know, but just watching that video of his death, I was like, no.
Yeah.
It's too public. It's too JFK, you know?
Yep.
Where they didn't have to do it that way. They didn't have to take him out. They wanted to cause that stress.
Yes.
That national, you know, oh my gosh, that terror, you know, by blowing his head off. And they did the same thing.
Well, and look at the Erica Kirk versus Candace thing that's been happening. And when you try to ask any questions, you're then vilified. And honestly, Erica Kirk, it's kind of, I don't know if people just don't want to see it or can't notice it, but there have been a lot of questions for me about the situation since day one of that, since September 10th, what has happened with Erica. And then of course this fight playing out. And so like you said, you go back to the, were we lied to? Are we being lied to? And I definitely think that this was done for multiple reasons, and one of them being fodder, so that people that question the most obvious questions about that entire case are then said to be nuts. You know, you're a type. You know what I mean? If you're a type of crazy, if you even question it. How dare you question the grieving widow even? And I'm thinking she's more angry about people saying questions and saying things than she is to the killer. So it is very well, the supposed killer, and that kid is from my area. So very interesting that all this came.
Oh yeah, the grieving widow thing. I didn't believe. I mean, 48 hours after her husband was brutally murdered, supposedly in front of her own children. She's addressing the nation with a tear in her eye.
I know. And the constant patting of tears. I was like, what are you doing? There's no tears coming out. Yeah.
I have a friend who calls people like that a big toothed, greasy lipped gal. And she is. That was what kept coming to my mind. That phrase kept coming to my mind as I watched that. I thought, this is not a woman who has lost the love of her life. And, like, remember back when, again, the analogies to JFK, 48 hours after he was brutally murdered, Jackie O addressed the country. No, she didn't. She didn't. Because she was a grieving widow. You don't do that. And just the fact that she pushed little John at the funeral, when she pushed little John out there to salute his father as the casket was going by, that's a weird thing to have happened too. Right. As a mother, my husband was just brutally murdered. I'm not going to push my son out there where
I know. But see, you're not allowed to question, because if somebody dies, see, they can take over the narrative and push it out. And if you, from day one, I had questions, and I put up there was like 30 questions that I had that couldn't be answered. To this day, they're still not answered, by the way. And that was from, I think, day 2. I put up this list because I said, oh my gosh, this thing's so full of holes. Are you kidding me that they're trying to sell this as this kid? And like the, changing 4 times and everything else. And I do think that it's a commandeering of Turning Point now in a different, in not a different direction, but in a direction that is going to severely affect the youth. And I don't think people on our conservative side are realizing that. There was a reason they put her at the helm, I think.
Right. And actually, the name of the organization makes me wonder, too, because Turning Point is a phrase that you will find in the Humanist Manifesto. And it's also a phrase you will find in the book 1984 by George Orwell, which is, of course, his prediction of what the Fabians had intended for society. And guess what? We're in it now. So, but I just thought that name even made me go, no, things aren't chosen by accident.
It was started by billionaires, and these billionaires who happen to be in the know and funding.
And look at her antecedents. Look at Erica Kirk's antecedents. Her parents. And
I know, Department of Defense.
Yeah.
It just there's no accidents to me. And I think after all of these thousands of hours of study that I've put in, I don't think it'll ever cease to amaze me how deep and how bad it can get on the lying. So I haven't found anything that the government said that's actually been truthful yet about an event or about something that's going on. I haven't found that. I remember back when Lindsey Graham started saying conservative things, and people, I swear to you, Rebecca, they were like, see, he's changed. He's back. He's one of us. And I'm like, you're joking, right? Number one, lot of closets to walk into there. But on that same note, I'm like, are you really? You're going to, because he said a couple of conservative things, just like Elon, just like some of these people that they parade in front of us. And it's good bait to get us to think that they have, for some reason, become a patriot of America. And I'm like, no, this is not truthful. I mean, my gosh, I have yet to find truth. Any truth that the government spills.
Absolutely. Yeah. They say whatever is expedient at the time to keep the money flowing into their private bank accounts. I mean, we have to remember Trump, most of his life, he's been a Democrat, I
know.
Loyal Democrat, leftist, until it became convenient to be conservative and change parties. He says all the right things.
They do not let somebody in this country be president twice without being part of the club. And the big ticket items of the deep state will move forward. And there might be a couple of little things, and I don't know how you feel about that. There might be a couple of little things that change. There might be a couple of crumbs that we get thrown, but the deep state agenda moves forward. What's your take on that?
Oh, I absolutely. Well, you can see it. Look how the federal government is constantly growing. It doesn't matter who is in the White House, who's in power in the House and Senate. It does not matter which party. We have we have a two-party system in this country. One of those parties is called the Republican Democrat Party. I don't know what the other one is. What we do, we need to get organized, and we need to turn off screens. Turn the screens off. You are being brainwashed. You stop sending your children to public school. They are being brainwashed. They are being told what to think, not how. They're not being taught how to think properly, think critically.
Yes.
Like, this doesn't add up. Something here doesn't add up. And to think and to be taught that, hey, you know what? You might be wrong. Maybe you're wrong when you say, hey, something doesn't add up. But that's good. Look into it. Have that inquisitive mind. Don't just, we follow the party line. We follow the party line. We follow.
We're in tribes. We're in tribes. And it's tribe speak at this point. So the more we can do to open eyeballs to that, the better. And you can actually get the New American magazine. You can go to the website. You want to hand that out?
Right. That is thenewamerican.com. And we also have the New American is owned by the John Birch Society, and our website there is jbs.org.
Mm-hmm.
And we're publishing a whole bunch of old books. We're bringing them back right now, like Libyan Freeway by Rose Martin. And that book will explain to you exactly why we're where we are right now. It'll open your eyes to a lot of what's going on. It'll red pill you. If you're not red pilled yet, that'll red pill.
Oh, it's amazing. One of the first books I read that actually red pilled me was Don Fotheringham. He's a good friend of mine. Now, which I'm so grateful, but Don Fotheringham's book, The President Makers. And I remember reading that cover to cover, and it was over a decade ago. And I just remember it just being so changing for me. And I really started really going down the rabbit holes at that point, but it was a great eye opener. And I'm always so grateful for the things that we can still say here because there's not a lot of forums left, guys, and radio is just gone. Radio is just gone. But I'm so grateful for this podcast, and I'm grateful for you, Rebecca, for all the work that you're doing and trying to wake people up. And I will say this now, tomorrow I have Investigator Dave. If you've listened to the show for a while, you know Investigator Dave. Investigator Dave's going to come on. We're going to be talking about the Australian beach event that happened. And I definitely think that was a false flag, and there are numerous reasons as to why. So we'll go over that tomorrow in detail. And I also just wanted to say, Cardio Miracle has changed my health. It delivers those minerals to you. It is amazing. And when I started taking it twice a day, that was the big thing. That was the big change. And I had taken it before once a day. It didn't do much, to tell you the truth. Then I started doing it twice, and then I started realizing, oh my gosh, and certain symptoms of mine went away. It was just amazing. And I will tell you, go to cardiomiracle.com/Kate and try it out. And there's a money back guarantee, so you can get it and try it. But so many of your letters, it's helping so many people on so many different levels with all kinds of different symptoms. That is the game changer, was doing it twice a day. So get on that, because we are so void of minerals. We were talking about health in the very beginning. Oh my gosh, you guys, if we knew how devoid of minerals, every symptom you have is probably a missing mineral. And the Cardio Miracle is actually a mineral delivery system to the cell. So I used to back another company that did like fruits and greens and stuff. This is on steroids compared to that product. This is amazing. So take that. And then also the store, katetalks.myshopify.com, also has the tumblers, the hoodies, the t-shirts and things like that with funny conservative sayings, and you can go grab those. And also the ebooks that are important. There's a deep dive on Disney and a deep dive on cancer, and you can go get those ebooks, and I really encourage you to do that. Go to thenewamerican.com, pick up their articles, and I tell people about them a lot because this, and I have for years and years and years, even before Alex Newman was even coming on my show. Like over a decade ago, I was like, hey, the New American's great. You can go there and get and not get the bias that you get from mainstream. And so I so appreciate that. Dr. Pesta, all these people that I have met coming at me from the New American too, which has been amazing. And of course, Rebecca. So thank you for all your work, Rebecca. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for your show. You make a huge difference. God bless you.
Thank you. All right, you guys, signing off. And I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to go through some more deep dive on the FBI plot. We're going to, that they foiled. I'm sorry, I have to laugh because it's just getting funny at this point, you guys. I mean, my gosh, do we believe this? The big foil. Yeah, big poster. Yes, to ice, because you make a poster if you're going to do secret backpacks with bombs. You make posters.
Right.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so ridiculous. We'll also talk about Australia. We got a couple things on the docket tomorrow. Really appreciate you guys. And of course, be faithful, be fearless. You can find out why I say that right on the website, katedalleyradio.com. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you. Bye, Rebecca. Thank you.
Bye, Kate.